Welcome, everybody. Tom Hillery here, your host. And today I am proud to be joined by Mr. Josh Leavitt. Yeah, pronounce it right?
You got it. I got it right. Okay. Yeah. But throw that extra A in there to screw everybody up, right? Leave it is what they stay with. Yeah, that's right.
And you're doing it well, Josh. I appreciate that and admire that. So anyhow, for anybody who's not getting out and around in Vegas, shame on you, first of all. But second of all, this is the gentleman who is the brains and the drive behind Tech Alley. And I've asked him to come here today to tell us a little bit about it, what Tech Alley is, and what are you trying to accomplish with that, Josh?
Yeah. No, I appreciate you asking about it, and excited to be on your podcast. So, Tech Alley came from this idea of could we start a technology and start a community in Las Vegas. I before I was I'll tell you how it all originated. Please. So I was director of a coding school here. It was the only coding school in Nevada. And we had a campus that was right there where in the arts district campus downtown. And I would invite meetups to use that space to, to host their meetup. For one, I thought it was great marketing for my school. People coming in, it was easy to bring people in. And two, it was great for our students to interact with folks. And three, it's hopefully they would find a job, as well, get the right type of connections. And one day, this guy came in from Irvine, a good friend of mine now. His name's Joseph. And he said, hey, I heard this was a tech scene. I said, sure is, man. There's a meetup on Monday and one JavaScript on Thursday and this other thing on Saturday. And he goes, no, I'm looking for that one place where everybody comes together and shares ideas, like a flea market of ideas. And I went, we don't have that here, but that planted the seed, in the brain. So I came to a point where I had left that position and took on entrepreneurism, and I thought, what's the community doing for? What's the city doing? What's economic development doing for startups? And they said, well, not much, right? Or for the big, the big companies. And I said, well, hey, here's this concept that I have that instead of making it so that everybody had to drive around town looking for events throughout the week, month, whatever, why don't we just bring them all to one place? That way, the community just has to go to one spot to meet everybody. And I already had connections in the meetup world, so I said, just help me find this area. And I ended up working with the city. We found this place in the arts district. So what Tech Alley does is, and this is how I said we can create a culture and a community here, is that we secure venue space all in this one area. This one is in the arts district. And we invite meetups to use that space. That way, meetup hosts, or I use meetup in a general term, but they don't have to go find sponsors and a venue and get the marketing, all that stuff. They simply show up and share their knowledge with the community. And then the community has one spot where they can, attend these sessions and then discover other sessions and then collaborate with all these people with a whole wide variety of knowledge from, hey, I just got an idea. Someone says, I've exited, a $1 million company, $1 billion, whatever. And, and then let's see what happens. But the big thing about it is I said, you got to stick with three principles when it comes to, building a community. One, it has to be inclusive, meaning anybody can participate. That's why we don't host them in bars or anything, because it immediately kicks out anybody under 21, right? It has to be accessible, which is why it's free for everybody to attend, and that it's consistent. So in Vegas, it's every third Saturday of the month, and the concept behind that is it has to be so community run that no one even thinks anybody runs it. They just think the community comes together and it did a great job because it started in May of 2021, and there was nothing happening, and now there's just big resurgence of activity that's happening in Las Vegas, and this new culture of everything has to be inclusive. It's all about sharing knowledge. It's all about, someone saying, and I always say this, we know we made it as a community when someone says, I have an idea, and the person next to me goes, hey, I want to hear what that is. Let me introduce you into my network. And then you got, progression. And so that's how Tech Alley came about. It was about, let's create this knowledge sharing community that's led by entrepreneurs that's going to create 1 million entry points into the ecosystem.
Very cool. So are you waiting for some guy like, wearing a robe and a hood over with like this shepherd's crook walking up the street one day and all of a sudden coming up to you saying, it's Joseph.
You must listen to me. Mike, he actually be a real good friend. And he's an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. I mean, this guy has so many businesses. I love to pick his brain. And he was in Denver. I'm not sure where he is now, but he actually started Tech Alley in Denver. So really, we could have chapters. And he saw an issue in Denver, which I like to examine as well, because Las Vegas is on this life cycle. It's on the beginning. It's really a lot of activity, a lot of energy around it. But what happens when there's different stages or phases of building a startup community, and what can we expect? So I watched Denver and learned from that. Reno, Nevada, struggled from it as well, and I say, all right, well, at least now we can prepare, because I think there are parallels. Just like you have a business life cycle, you might have a community building life cycle where there eventually becomes a crisis, and how do you overcome that? Yeah. How do we recognize it, and what steps we have to do to prepare and help us move forward? Yeah, enjoy that.
Sure. Well, you've obviously had a very, you've had a colorful life so far. It's just getting better. But I think I was looking into your background. You had a little time in banking. Yeah, which I think is kind of different from, tech. But, maybe you can explain to me how you went from like that to this.
It's nothing great other than I went to college and I quickly dropped out.
All great men drop out of college, don't forget.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. And my mother said, you have to get insurance. And so I was like, all right. And so she happened to know somebody who worked for, it was a Valley Bank at the time. So it was like 1992, I think.
Okay.
And I started as a coin sorter, which is the lowest position of the thing. So basically the bags of coin come in from Robert Casino. And I pour it into this hopper thing, and it would sort it, and then count the coins, and we bag them up this way. We didn't get shake because those bags are pretty heavy.
Yeah, just very quickly for the kids out there, there used to be these little metal discs called coins. And worth its weight in gold. That's where the expression's come. That's what he's talking. Oh, yeah. I just had to make sure that learns the younger crowd. The rest of okay, so you're working out with the coin bag.
Also, boy, and it was actually a really fun gig. But it is what it is. You look for ways to move up. Eventually, Bank of America bought out all the smaller banks, including
They think it's already gobble.
Yeah. I think that's when national banking became something big or something. And so I went to Bank of America, and then moved my career, and then just as chance happened in the mid '90s, got pulled into technology. The story is I just happen to know Excel, and I don't think a lot of people knew technology. And so
In the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's something I happened to pick up, and so I was making all these really neat spreadsheets. And someone said, "Hey, this guy downstairs, he knows all this computer stuff. We got to bring him onto the technology team." I knew nothing about technology, but we were using OS2 at the time. I'm not an expert in OS2, but it was I think it was on its way out, and Windows was on its way in. And so there was a lot of issues. I was able to jump into basically this chaotic environment, and so I was able to rapidly learn and then pay for knowledge into Windows. And so we got all the certifications, and we helped migrate everything up to that. And then eventually I got into the emerging technology side, which I really enjoyed, and then became in the bank and became a CIO of a helicopter company here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So that was in 2001. And then I had that job for about 15 years.
Wait, what's the like that one?
God, I love that junk. It has a helicopter company.
How cool is that? It's super cool.
It's one of those things where I wanted to be a CIO. One day I learned there was a thing as a CIO. I was like, I want to be a CIO. And I would talk to my friends, say, how do you become something like this, right? And the bank was like sided through them so much. And then and I think what they were trying to do was grow their technology, so they bring in someone who have a certain specialty. Oh, we're going on VoIP, and they bring someone who have the specialty in VoIP, and then okay, we're taking the CIO.
Particularly this thing, just what they CIO and VoIP.
Oh, Chief Information Officer. So it's the main officer, executive for technology architecture. Basically, help with the business part of even technology, and so we were stifling them. And here's the thing: is I had the strategy. I said, so I was in emerging technology, so it was always good to come up with ideas and so on. To try not to get in trouble, because every November they would lay everybody up. And to the point where I think it was the only engineer in Nevada left. I think everybody had to go into, whoa, yeah, impressive. I think, but I used to joke. I said, the reason why they kept me around is so my bosses had a reason to come to Vegas, you know. So we would, anyway, I didn't even have anything in my office. I was like, any day they're going to tell me I'm laid off or something like that. But I always had a strategy. I say, just before November, I always do something really rememberable. So we go all the way to the top. So when they're like, all right, we got to lay off all these people. I'll be, okay, well, that Josh guy is pretty good. So anyway, they recycle to him every year or every 2 years. And, I got top of my friends. I said, how do you got to, do that? And some said write books, some said, whatever. But anyway, it just so happened I got that opportunity and I jumped for it and worked for a helicopter company for 15 years. I was expanding. So it's just always something to do. I think I started there was 30 employees and I left there was, 200, 300, 500. I can't recall, but we had 5 different locations around the West Coast. It was a fantastic time, man. I got to fly in helicopters.
Very nice. Now this was touring or?
Yeah, it was touring. I think they're the biggest one in. They have 50 helicopters, and they do the Strip. Then we go to the Grand Canyon, and then we had some in Hawaii, and we do that as well. But it was a family operation. And, they gave me a lot of opportunity to really drive business or leverage technology to help drive business. And I always said this technology is an accelerator. It's not. I don't see it as a solution. It's all right. Where are we trying to get to? How can I help? Be part of that. So I always thought of it as an accelerator. And I did some rapid growth, and I learned a tremendous amount. And I still kick myself sometimes and why did I ever leave that job? But what occurred was, 15 years, the president and the owner and those, they heard all my ideas. They knew everything I was doing. And I recognized, I'm not going to be able to grow with the company. I couldn't. I knew I wasn't going to be CEO. I thought, could I do something like this? Here I have all these ideas. I thought, you know what? I'm going to quit, and I'm going to maybe work for a nonprofit or some business and come in as a COO or something, and see if I can actually leverage my my skill set and if I can actually make it work. Not always go back to a CIO position. And I quit, and then here's the guy dropped out of college. So I started, I panicked because I was like, what am I doing, man? That was a great money and that was a cool gig. And so I started applying for jobs and I wasn't getting past the resume part of it. I was like, I even know the CIO, right? But I wasn't telling him I was applying. And I thought, well, you know what the reason is I'm not checking that box as I got a bachelor's degree or I got a real degree. I said, so I probably should get a degree. There's a lot of us who required it.
Even out here?
Even out here, oh yeah. I think they're back going with. Yeah, sometimes I think they're backwards out here because they depend on that, almost like rubber stamp. Everything has to have a degree, no matter what. Software development got to have a bachelor's degree. Really? I think for an economy where you can make $100,000 without a college degree, and tips and stuff. It seems like there's certain, especially in the technology sector, it's almost a requirement to have these certain things. It's weird. So I went to an online college, WGU, and I loved that. I knocked that degree out in 5 months. Cool. And then I thought, that's cool. And I knocked my master's degree out in like 6 months. Someone almost killed me, but that's right. I was studying, and then you start to feel like what's going on with the old heart? I got 2 more classes left. I'll worry about this afterwards. But in the end, I did that, and so within a year, I was working. I got a job for a nonprofit that did technology training for free, for free, yeah. And then so they'd upskill young adults, and we'd help them find jobs in technology. And when I was a CIO, I was a mentor for this program and so on. The company's called or nonprofit's called Tech Impact. And
What do they survive on donations? Or?
no, they actually had a really neat business model. So they were actually a MSP, so managed service provider for other nonprofits. So that's how they made money. A good amount of money doing that. And then as a give back into the community, they created these programs that would help, these workforce development programs. I got heavily involved in workforce development probably around 2011 when the governor in Nevada decided they're going to, diversify the economy by what they call the New Nevada Initiative by by embracing more technology and entrepreneurism, and so on, they realize we can't survive off the gaining revenue when there's a big, economic downturn. And so, I remember reading that and going, "Oh, that's cool," but I can't find any technology employees. This is like 2011. I can't find any employees now. What's going to happen when there's a huge demand for technology talent? We can't survive, right? We're a helicopter company, but as I saw, we're competing against all the casinos and all the gaming and all of that industry because we're all going for tourist dollars. So how can we could do that successfully if we can't find any if we can't compete from a technology standpoint? So I got into workforce development, and that's when I started participating in things like Tech Impact as a mentor, and I would do internships and so on. And so I'm very familiar with them. And then I ended up working for them as their regional director. So I was the first regional director. And part of that was to put together a coding school, and because there was none in Nevada at the time. The only one that was here had closed down. We were going to create a new one. And my God, that was one of the hardest jobs I ever had. Really? It was. So first of all, I was like, all right, here I am. I'm going to do all these things. I got a degree in business now, and a master's degree in leadership and management. I'm going to put all these things to the test. I was I think I was a liked boss when I was a Maverick, and I understood culture was really important. But here I am. I have to put together this new program, this new school, costs $13,000, and you had even for tuition the first year. And you had and the first obstacle, you got to get a license to be a training program. Well, in Nevada, they treat any program, any adult education program. It doesn't matter if it's free. It doesn't matter what the subject is. If you're teaching an adult, you have to get a post-secondary license, and the qualifications are the same as if you're starting at college. It was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. And it came to the point where we said, there's a reason why there's no training programs in Nevada, because who would do this? But we were a nonprofit. We got $250 from the state to kick it off. But in the end, it cost us $500,000 to start that program because you had, first of all, you had all these high requirements. You had to have a building and staff in there. Everybody had to have these high credentials. And then you could not advertise or have a program going until you get your license. And that took 11 months. So you had 11 months of expenses with no income coming in. So you can see, I was trying to come out with the certain things. Anyway, I say that was the hardest and the best job I had because this is the first time I ever came in as a new, leader, and so I was trying to work. I think just as I was coming in, I think half the staff quit, so we had to rehire and free train and get all that stuff going, and then you had to, we had to make a profit. And, I remember when I learned and I could anticipate how much this was, everything in my school that trained me said, dude, jump this thing. There's no way it's going to survive. And I thought to myself, and I thought about it, so no one's going to blame me, but I thought, well, this is what I came here to test myself for, was to see if I could actually pull something like this off. I'm going to give it 2 years. And the executive director, his name's Patrick, and I really love, his leadership. But every month he would put out P&Ls. He put out P&Ls, and then he put out a summary to the board, and I said, sorry, I'm P&L, a profit and loss statement. Okay. And every month mine was like crap. Yeah, it was crap. And I had warned them. I said, we're going to lose this much money, $203,000. And, but anyway, I loved and I hated that. And why? Well, because, P&Ls come and they say, Josh's department, all my stuff, in serious trouble. And I would be embarrassed. But at the same point, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to solve this, right? And so, it really drove me to, try to do it every month, for for almost a year. It was, crappy P&Ls. My P&Ls were just absolutely terrible. Wasn't making budget until I was able to turn things around, man. And when I first made budget, I cried. It was just like, wow. I was so happy, but I love that. I love that, right? the accountability, putting yourself on the spot. But yeah, I don't know how we got to that part of the conversation, but
That's alive under pressure, man. That's impressive.
that's where we got. I love the job. I learned a lot of lessons. Patrick was a good boss. That I think he was a type that would always ask you put to work pressure you, but yeah, made you work your sales skills, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what's really interesting listening to you tell the whole story is it sounds like you didn't have this like epiphany when you were 5 years old. You were gonna like build a supercomputer to Mars or whatever.
Oh,
It's like it led there somehow. on a path. That's
yeah, 100%. I grew up in Vegas, right?
okay.
I had some idea. I had 3 jobs that I knew of. I knew there was obviously the resorts,
Yeah.
construction, and and I lived in a construction neighborhood. And there was a time when Vegas. People, I don't think you realize this. I think up to the '60s, Reno was bigger than Vegas. I mean, Vegas was small.
Really?
Yes, I knew. Yeah, and then then it just skyrocketed. So when I was a kid, it was all construction, and so even when I was middle school, you needed money. And someone knew somebody that worked at that did a super or at a company, and you can go there and pick up or dig holes or something like that and make some money to take a girl on a date or do something cool for a dance or whatever. And so I did a lot of that growing up, and gas station. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to work in the resort industry, but anyway, it just so happened I found technology. It is what it is. And I say that worked at the bank was a big move, and then that initiative, that new Nevada initiative was another big changing point.
Okay.
And I liked that the state did that because it added predictability, I think, to us. I was like, okay, I know the direction the state's going to go. At least as business, I can start making decisions, and my decision is I better start making talent, and then on that effort to do getting into help with workforce development and IT. It led to workforce development, tech impact, and then it's now led into, my efforts with Tech Alley and who knows what else it's going to lead to. But yeah, I think those were two of the big sort of direction changing things, in my life, career wise. Yeah.
Goodness. And now you're involved with another something tag.
Yeah.
Want to know a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love Intagli. So Intagli is a 3D printing platform. So it's basically what we do. We're a two-sided marketplace. We're like Uber. So what we do is we connect people that need 3D printing to those in the community that have 3D printers. And
Sensible.
yeah, and make that work. So it's like how Uber connects riders and drivers. We're just a platform that makes that connection. And that came from this thought I had, where and the funny story is this: I quit Tech Impact. I was starting my own businesses, and I was really busy trying to figure this stuff out. And I'm also a person that has a lot of ideas, and so I said to myself, no longer share ideas because it's just all talk at this point. There's no way I can ever execute on any of these things. So I'm not going to share any more ideas unless I'm going to execute on them. And I actually had this thing on my wall that says, ideas are easy, execution's everything. So I'm not going to share any more ideas. I won't have any conversations. And I was part of the governor's STEM board, or his Office of Science and Information Technology, or the advisory council. And one of the things that
Again, might want to say what STEM is.
Oh, no, I know. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's just a marketing term. That's how it is, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? But
You heard it here first.
yeah, but and then they say they say stream and all these other things. But really, it's just a marketing term. That says, what are we going to, what level are we trying, or what are we trying to educate our youth for? And that was what the question was. Is they want to talk about STEM jobs? And I said, well, what's a STEM career? Right? Because a big thing was, hey, we got to get women in STEM. And that's what I said, well, what's a STEM career? I said, is nursing a STEM career? Is teaching us? I was like, there wasn't really a lot of these answers. And so I looked it up, and I said, what's STEM education? And I found that it was the 4 C's of STEM. 4 C's of STEM. It's critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration, and communication. And I said, you know what? They're teaching kids how to ask why. Why are we doing something like this? And then solving it, right? I said, they're creating little entrepreneurs, right? I said, I love this. And so I thought to myself, I thought, what would be really cool is if we had a way to, help with that, build a culture around entrepreneurship, and for that we need action. So if a kid has an idea, we gotta help them think that it's just part of something you do. You actually make that. Or if they have a problem, you actually solve that. And I thought, well, what if a fourth grader was building a Lego set and they couldn't find a Lego piece? I think they should be able to go to the library, print up a Lego, and install their problem. As in libraries, that's where you go for everything, right? And so I thought, that's Bolivia, but I'm not going to share it. And so I kept it, in the back of my mind for a while that, hey, I want every library in the state of Nevada to have 3D printers, until I was asked to speak in front of city council about entrepreneurism. And like a dummy, I said, here's this idea I have. Oops. And thought, I got to execute on it. And so I started going to libraries, and I was finding, hey, what do you have 3D printers? I didn't know much about 3D printing. And I found that some of them do, and they just sit in a closet. No one's using them. They're restricted by age because, they were donated or as part of a grant that says only for teenagers. And so, I was learning and learning, and eventually I thought, well, why can't the universities put these out? They have these maker spaces. And so I went up to the University of Reno, and they had this really, really neat maker space, and it was all over the news. So I went up there and I pitched this idea. I said, here's this concept I have, where the local libraries send the print jobs to you, and you and whatever, print them and then deliver them to the libraries. So you do the 3D printing, so they don't have to have 3D printers there. And entrepreneurism, it's always no, right? That's what's great about entrepreneurs, right? You go, no problem. We'll just go to let's say we're going to bypass that. No. So I got this whiteboard, and I'm sharing this idea, right? And they go, no, and I'm like, no, let's go. And we get to the point where they finally said, well, here's the thing. We're going to buy more 3D printers, and we're no staff. It's going to cost us this much money. I said, well, why don't you cluster it? Why don't you partner with somebody else to do these 3D printing? I said, why don't you Uberfy it? And I said, I circled that, took a picture of it, and I took it back to Tech Alley. And there was a guy named Dan that was hosting a session at Tech Alley called Pitch Workout Room. And it was just about sharing your idea or sharing your pitch and getting feedback. So it wasn't like I got this business and here it is. It was just sort of, let me get some feedback from the community. And so I said, here's this idea that I have. And I just talked about it and so on. And I said, I want one of you entrepreneurs to make it happen, because I popped about it, so it has to happen. I don't have much time. And one of the guys that was there, named Zach Gonzalez, come up to me, and he said, I like your idea, and I want to talk about it. And I said, all right. So after we talked about it for a while, I said, I like my idea. I want in. Like 7 months later, it was too much. And Zach was a really good guy. He's a partner, founder. He's 19 years old at the time, and dude's remarkable. You wonder if you should interview him. He's amazing. And but we had a platform. We had we were a library. And we were getting this thing launched and running. We learned a lot. We were the first ones to use it. I actually bought a real 3D printer just so I could learn how to use it. And the first time we got the first batch of orders, we were using the app and we're doing all this stuff. And we were like, this thing sucks. We're already trying to figure out ways around it. If we can't use it, we can't expect operators, people that are on our platform to use it. So it was one of those lessons learned. I always give people advice: if you have a product, try it first before you give it out, because you might think this thing sucks. So we redesigned it, and now and learned a lot from that experience. And then we got people to become operators that will get the jobs and work the whole money issues and and the ideas. It's been really a fun experience. Doing it, and now the platform works really well. We work with libraries, and we do the print at the libraries. We now do manufacturing, so we will print out the same item over and over, looking for manufacturing, and then manufacturers, and then we do white label. So people say, hey, I want to offer 3D printing from my company. They'll use our services, our back end, but it'll look like they're printing it from their store, but it's all the same thing. They have their own portal. People upload their STL. It then spits out what the cost will be, which is it's like $1.20 per print hour plus shipping plus $3.50 for tagging fee. And if they accept it, then it goes out to our network of operators, and they get a little alert, and they can accept it or reject it. And if they accept it, we ship them the files. They print them up, take a couple pictures once they're done, deliver them, and the transaction's done. And the beauty of what we offer is, it's the delivery, right? The shouldn't is the killer. It's the hard thing to overcome. But because we only use people within that local area, we don't have to worry about that transporting it from here to whatever. So we keep shipping costs really low and have a lot more control over the product. Because we got into that we built something where we had a catalog, and we had our operators or people can upload their files and people could buy them. And the very first one that we got was in Florida, and we didn't have anybody in Florida, so someone here did it. They shipped it, and at the end of the day, we ended up losing money. And we said, because we're so variable cost heavy, that any fluctuation from that, and in this case, they had to buy a bigger box, but it hit the bottom line, or it cut profits, or so we said that's not how you do business. Business 1 + 1 has to equal 5, or we're doing a word. So we cut that part out, and you just stuck with what we're doing. We'll figure the other part out later. But now it's generating. Last year it was so funny. We just did a whiteboard session. Last year it was all about building a platform and get some customers. And now it's all about scaling. How we're going to hyperscale and strategies around that. So we're implementing that part of the business. It's there's a lot to learn, and we're in the business. I think what's really neat is that when you have a startup community, you can reach out to folks, and you can ask them, I need to raise money. Well, you reach out to Kurt, and Kurt will say, well, yeah, you could. It's Kurt Walker. He does Fusion 42 and Who's Got My Money. Oh, yes, session. Yep, I know. And he'll tell you, well, there's a lot of different ways to get funding. It's just not investor funding, right? There's grants, there's, sponsorship, there's, or you can just do it yourself. And, he helps out with that. So I love to hear his lessons. The CEO of Pills to Me gave us some really good advice about, not becoming too operator heavy, and that worked out really well. And there was other person that comes to take out, her name's Sammy Lee. She actually looked at our financials and did a strategy analysis on it. And we learned, because of credit card charges, we had a price so bad that the more we made, the more sales we had, or revenue, the less profit we had because of the credit card charges. So there's some weird things you don't think about, but you surround yourself with these people that, either experienced it or have some input, and next thing you're not learning the hard way. You're hopefully preventing things that can destroy a small startup. Yeah. Before it has the opportunity. So that's the beauty of having to start a community. So I always say Intagly started out of Tech Alley because all I had was an idea, and it brought the right people in place to actually turn it into a business, and I think a high scale business, and it's a new territory for me, but I'm enjoying the ride.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, now just for my knowledge as well as others, I'm thinking like these old science fiction movies with the replicator. You drop an object in, you pull two of the same object back out. Cool. This was meant by 3D printing when I first heard about it. Maybe it's not quite that way.
Oh, maybe some days.
Right? We get in there, I'm sure, but like, what do you 3D print? I mean, I've seen cell phone cases 3D printed. But it's like, can you do a knife and fork?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can do. They 3D print houses. I mean, we don't do it yet, but
Bigger printer fills.
But it's whatever printers are out there in the community that someone signs up for, and as long as there's demand for it, we'll add those people to our network. Our goal we're very operator focused, so our goal is, all right, every operator has to at least get 10 orders, and I think that's a good way to think. It's this thing. No, it's all about getting more customers in. For us, it's like, no, let's make sure that the operators are finding this platform valuable. And then, so operators are the people in the community that have the 3D printer. Someone at home that is actually doing the 3D printing.
Okay.
So we have a huge waiting list, but we only bring on people when there's enough demand for them, and then we highly focus on their ability and enjoyment and so on, because they're hobbies. Most of them are hobbyists. They just happen to have this 3D printer to sit and I'm a fan of Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that later in life, probably in my late 40s, and I go, I wish I would have read this when I was 14. But the whole idea of everything's a liability until it's making you money, then it's an asset, and so now here's all these people with these 3D printers that they bought. They had a hobby and they thought they had a lot of fun, and now it's just sitting in the corner because they don't have much to do. But now Intagly gives them the opportunity to bring it back out, dust it off, and now they don't have to come up with ideas of print. They're getting jobs to print for people, and they're hobbies, and we find them, they do a great job because they want to make sure it's their passion, and they're helping out the community, and getting to do something that they enjoy. And 3D printing, the process itself, there's a lot of tricks and trays to making sure your printer's calibrated and making sure that your the placement. I mean, there's an art to it, but for the most part, it's just hit start and then it prints. 12 hours later, it's done, right? So it's not like 12 hours you're working. So they got their 3D printer making them money while they sleep, or while they're doing something else, and so on. And I think the neat thing is it's created this little community manufacturing ecosystem because the money stays within the community. There's a need, and then someone in the community solves that need, and it just circles around. So I think the libraries, you have the library wants to provide this service, wants to promote STEM. Somebody that needs to do 3D printing for whatever reason, they go to their library, upload the file, it goes to Intagly, comes out to an operator, they print it, they deliver it to the library. The person comes in the library, so now there's more exposure to the library, and they get more foot traffic, and it just be off each other. So and we find out that some of these people that are doing it enjoy 3D printing so much they buy their own 3D printers. Maybe they'll be with Intagly one of these days. But it's really neat to see how it's coming. Yeah, how this works. And there's a lot of talk about this Industry 4.0 or whatever. And I was reading a recent definition of it, and I was going, this is something that Intagly could be part of. It'll drive. Anyway, because I actually think of it this way, right? If we can use households, the gig economy and the households, and people that have all these tools to manufacture things. I mean, the thing about Intagly is someone might come in and say, I need 100 of these parts, and they usually get it from China or something like that. We can do it instant. We just spread it across multiple operators.
Yes.
And then there's no, we don't have to get mold pieces together and do all that complication, and the startup costs aren't extraordinary. It's simply upload your file, let's order on. We'll get it all taken care of and shipped to you. Our goal is 3 days of print time to get it to you, and then shipping. We'll get it to get delivered or out for shipping. But this could change the way manufacturing is done. I think you got to look at that, right? And it's so funny now that I'm saying it. It's like growing up in Vegas, right? I remember when it was the helicopter company. I said, why aren't we advertising to the locals here? I said, because every house is a hotelry. Everybody comes here. They want to see Vegas, but they have a family member that's here, and we're missing that market. They're not all going to the concierge desk. They can put things, I knew. So, the same sort of thing here. Every house has some tool that could be useful in the supply chain. How can we leverage that, right? How can people make a little bit of money? How can you create little ecosystem, little manufacturing industries, within a small community?
When I think we can, also in a culture of everybody has a side hustle too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like like New York. I'm 70 hours on Wall Street. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
I got your house, but you probably have odd-hour jobs. So we have so many people. It's like holidays aren't holidays. What's it like? They're working days.
Yeah.
So it should be easy to get people to say, we've got this side thing you could do if you have a 3D print.
Yeah, and I like the idea that it also promotes entrepreneurism, because you can now see, all right, well, again, business, 1+1 = 5, right? Well, here's my operating costs and here's my profit,
Yeah.
and you got to make sure that, it works, right? And I like that idea, get you exposed to things like P&Ls and, and understanding that, here's how I can actually make some money. So I'm really happy. I want to see us working with more youth, so they can get in the habit of, of that. But I'm glad that, even adults are doing it, because I think adults are, adults are help the youth, right? They're the trailblazers for our youth. So, they might be in the service industry and we may not be exposed to entrepreneurism, but now here's an opportunity for them to go, okay, well, I now dip my toe into it. And if my kid asks a question, I can tell them, hey, here's how it works. Here's how you can run your own company, and who knows what that kid could develop. But yeah, it all comes around.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. The battery's almost dead because we've been shooting for 40 minutes. But
You want us to keep going, or what do we do?
I mean, it's up to you. We've got probably a couple minutes left before this bad boy dies, but we got to go 45.
It's like charge it, or do you have?
I got a backup. I can switch it out.
Yeah, I think that.
All right. I'm enjoying the conversation. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Okay. Okay. It's interesting. We talked about the entrepreneurship of Nevada, and I've been around enough that I've found like every city is made up of people, and the city is the collective personality of everybody in it. So you have the certain views about what's going to happen when you go to Boston, what's going to happen when you go to Los Angeles, what's going to happen when you go to Las Vegas. And I remember when I came out here, I wanted to get involved in the local history and tradition, and I found out the theme song out here or the anthem's "Home means Nevada to me." Yes, the home means Nevada, home means the hills, home means the sage and the pine. It goes where the sun always shines. So you've got that image of Nevada that would seem to be somewhat at odds with high-tech development. Have you found anything like that? Is there anything in the culture of Nevada that you've had to overcome? Or is that just, that's part of tradition, but no, we're not held back to like nature and the frontier.
Yeah. So, I tell the state, for the city and the county, they need to create this image campaign with the message that says, hey, I had no idea. Right? Because now everybody says, I mean, I grew up here and I say that, right? And I actually, because everybody say this, everybody knows what the Strip is. I mean, that's what's always promoted. That's the image of, obviously, even say Nevada as a whole is the Strip.
Oh yeah, world famous Las Vegas.
But as soon as you go off the Strip, go away from those bright lights, you find, you find culture, you find, talent, and different types of people, and you really see what Las Vegas is made of, right? And the attractions that are out here. I say, go 10 miles past Mount Charleston, you got wild horses. You got some of the best rock climbing. You got Grand Canyon. You got Lake Mead, Boulder City. I hope if you had gone into the old Boulder City, it's a gem. You got the Arts District. So in downtown Vegas, what's the thing about Vegas is still a small community with just